This might be just a little bit different to reading things on a piece of paper, which you've got through Firefly. So give me feedback about how well this works. Probably absolute rubbish. I hope you're all well too. Reading an unseen poem. I'm not going to go through any specific poems in this, but I will talk through various things about the theory of it. It's your final paper in Lit, so paper 2, and it's the one with Uninspected Calls and the anthology poetry in it. The unseen poetry is the section C, and there are 2 questions, but the bigger one is the first one that we're practicing at the moment, which is the unseen poem, not the comparison at this moment. So we're just looking at writing about one unseen poem. Fabulous responses, by the way, for your last piece of work. I was really knocked out by how good they were, and I just put 1 here, but I could have put 10, I could have put 15. There were some brilliant ones on mine. Typical questions for this is going to be nothing complex with this. So in other words, it's always going to have the same, roughly the same format. In this poem, how does the writer present whatever it is? Or how does the writer explore attitudes to this, or thoughts about that, difficulties of being a teenager, attitudes to old age? Things like that are going to be typical, but it will not be complicated. There is a process to anything, and if you've got your own process for doing something like this, but it typically might be having a pen or a highlighter, highlighting keywords in the question, reading the poem through, first of all, for general impressions, reading it again, all in the first 5 minutes, and some people read it a 3rd time. If you begin to highlight bits or to scribble notes, absolutely fine. It's really good practice not to jump straight into writing, even if the person to the left of you or to the right of you is. Keep it there, maybe even plan it a bit. At Gordano, the 5 things are topic, tone, poet's intentions, techniques, and personal reactions. And in actual fact, every school has either that or it jumbled up in a slightly different order, and they are typical things that you ought to be thinking about as you look at a poem for the first time. Topic, ideas there. What theme is it exploring? Is it got a message for you? Is it an opinion piece? Is it imagining it's somebody? Who is speaking? Quite often you will get the sense that somebody is speaking. If you do, who do you imagine they're speaking to? Do they address the person directly? You. Sometimes it may be quite difficult to work out, and sometimes you may not have a speaker in the poem. It might be a more detached viewpoint, almost like a camera overseeing an area. So have a look for that when you first start reading the poem. The tone is important too. Serious, humorous, nostalgic, irony. Is it sarcastic? Pick out words and examples from the text that actually support your view. What does the poem want you, the reader, to take away? There are 2 levels here. There's the literal, so it could be a poem about a game of hide and seek, or it could be a game about autumn, or it could be something like Eden Rock, a picnic. Underneath that, quite often, a poem will have a hidden layer. So look out for symbolism. So in Eden Rock, for example, there are lots of sort of symbolism to do with Christianity. If you were looking at Mother Any Distance, you've got that idea of a rope which links them, it's positive, but also traps them together, the mother and son. So have a look at layers of meaning. I'm not going to go through the techniques all in a long line at the top. Obviously, really, really important. It's quite interesting too, that middle bullet point, to look at how a poem starts and ends, particularly ends. Quite often the writer will put in a little twist at the end, or leave it in an important moment that gives the something of what that poet is trying to convey in it. So how does the ending link to the beginning, and what does it say about the structure of the poem? You know, is it cyclical? Does it leave it on a cliffhanger? Is it ambiguous, or is it absolutely clear what the writer's intending? Your reaction is really important, and examiners really like to see not a bit of waffle, but something that again links to the question that they've asked. Whether you find it an optimistic poem, an uplifting poem, or a depressing poem is also important. And I put down here just some tips. The first one, anyone reading a poem for the first time, sometimes for the 15th time, is going to think, I just don't understand this bit. But there will be lots you do understand. So have confidence in your own ability. And if there's bits you don't understand, concentrate on the bits that you do understand, and you will grow as you go through it. Keep looking at the poem, and your understanding will develop as you write about it. Use short quotes, refer to techniques if you can, although that fourth bullet point, if you cannot remember the name of a technique, simply write down something like, this unusual phrase is effective because, and your explanation of how it's effective will gain you more marks than simply if you worry about if you got the name of a technique correct. And I put that thing about the ending too. Final bit is just typical phrases, and you will have come across loads of these, and some of you will be very confident in these. Others may want to use one or two. So for example, that middle one, on one level the poet seems to describe maybe a literal meaning. However, on a deeper level, he suggests that. All of those ways of using language is trying to be concise and not to start retelling the story of the poem. If you start retelling the poem, your mark level will go down. They're not interested in you saying this happened and that happened and this happened and that happened. They want to know how well you can analyze the poem and analyze the intentions of the poem. So that's this. I've got to see now if it works. I'm going to also do a second one where I'm going to try and make it looking through one of the poems that you've got. So best of luck, and as the cliche goes at the moment, keep safe, everybody.